So some pretty big news just broke that the Bills have officially fired offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey per Adam Schefter. And I actually was making this video, which I will discuss what Dan Orlovsky had to say, basically critiquing the offensive play calling in Buffalo. This was before Ken Dorsey got fired, so clearly the Bills recognize that a change needs to be made. The Bills now sitting at 5-5 after the close loss to the Denver Broncos last night. Obviously, something needs to change because the Bills have not been playing at a high level. The fact that they're 5-5 with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs is pretty wild at this point into the season. And so I want to look at here what Dan Orlovsky had to say, and he posted these things on X or Twitter earlier today, and it's interesting to see him post that, and then as well, later in the day, Ken Dorsey get fired. So clearly, Dan Orlovsky was probably right in some of the things he was seeing here in Buffalo. So here's what Dan Orlovsky had to say first. He says this: I remain adamant. The Bills' offense schematically is broken. And I think one thing that is very interesting about this Bills offense is currently they are third in yards per play in the NFL. So they've had no issue moving the ball. They are also the 8th best scoring offense in the NFL. And obviously, if you look at that in a vacuum, you don't look at anything else, it's like, what? Why in the world would you fire your offensive coordinator? But obviously, everyone who's been paying attention knows that this has been such a turnover-worthy play team where Josh Allen seems so careless with the ball, currently leads the NFL in interceptions. Last night versus the Broncos, they have 4 turnovers, 2 fumbles, 2 interceptions. One of the interceptions is dropped by a receiver. One of the fumbles was on Josh Allen. One of the interceptions was on Josh Allen. And the thing is, you just can't play sloppy football, turn the ball over, and expect to win games. Because even in last night's game, with the Bills turning the ball over 4 different times, on those turnovers after that, the Bills held the Broncos to only 6 points on 4 turnovers. So the fact that the Broncos and the Bills, the game was so close coming down to the end, shows just how good the Bills defense played a majority of the night last night. But if you're the Bills, you knew that something needed to change here because you can't keep doing this and expect to somehow make the playoffs and find success. Here's also what Dan Orlovsky had to say, going a little bit more in depth on the exact specifics about what he's talking about when it comes to the Bills schematically. So he says this: I plead with you, Bills, use motion at the snap. Put the QB under center and run some play action. It doesn't have to be every snap, but please do it some. You excel at it. Thank you, and may God have mercy on your soul. Then he says this: Bills offense last night, shotgun, pass, 12 for 23, 6 yards per attempt, 6.5 yards per play. Under center, pass, 3 for 3, 14 yards per attempt, run 8 yards per carry, 9 yards per play. So clearly, when they were under center, things are going really well. Dan Orlovsky seems to be suggesting that they should do more under center, which, if it's working well, you might as well. But the thing that I find very interesting is, as I said earlier, the Bills have been one of the best offenses in the NFL when it comes to moving the ball. The issue has been the turnovers. And so if you look at the game last night, they outgained the Broncos on offense. The Bills had a total of 369 yards to the Broncos 300. The Bills had 7.1 yards per play to the Broncos 4.2 yards per play. And I really think the only issue is turnovers, because if you can clean up those turnovers, it's not like Josh Allen and this offense are having trouble moving the ball. The consistent turnovers are the issue. And that's one thing of Josh Allen's game that's just sort of hard to deal with, because he has those crazy, insane throws, but at the same time, his decision-making at times can be flawed. And the really question is can you get him to play smarter football while also not taking away the incredible things that he does? And I think that, the plan in Buffalo has to be to stop these turnovers. That has to be the main reason Ken Dorsey was fired, the sloppy play. And there were lots of times this season for the Bills as well in offense where in the first half, things just take a while to get going. In the first quarter, they've really struggled, and it's really been later in games where they've really come back and started to play well. And so turnovers haven't been the only issue. They've gotten off to lots of slow starts. And when you just look at the Bills, the fact that they have one of the best QBs in the NFL who still currently is dealing with interception issues, and if you can't clean those up, he's going to have a tough time the rest of the season. And so now it came out that Joe Brady is going to be the interim offensive coordinator. And so we'll see if they're able to fix the Bills' issues, because right now at 5-5, they got to just hope that they can clean this up and try to make the playoffs, because this has been a tough season so far for Buffalo. But that's all I have for this one. If you want more NFL content like this, feel free to subscribe down below.